You're listening to Supervision with a Vision, where we discuss all things supervision. I'm your host, Sarah, professional counselor, marriage and family therapist, play therapist, eating disorder specialist, and cookie lover, with my co-host, Heather, marriage and family therapist, certified Together in Texas counselor, a Texas transplant from California, and outdoor adventurer. Hi, welcome to Supervision with a Vision. Today, Heather and I are talking about how we are going to manage for every day rather than managing for the weekend. This week we read Stop Managing for the Weekend, published in Psychology Today, 2020. Heather, the first point in our article was the importance of clarity in managing and in supervising.
At the very beginning, when I'm talking with a supervisee, before we've even done a contract, I'm asking, what is their goal? And often I get to complete my hours.
Sure.
Yeah, like, okay, that's nice.
It's a good goal. It's
it needs to happen.
Yeah, realistic.
But it's not really what I'm asking. What I'm really asking is, what are you hoping to gain? Why me over a different supervisor? What are you hoping I bring to the table? And then also just asking, as we're planning this time together, what is the map? Where are we going?
I think, Heather, exactly what you're saying, I think is important. And the longer I've been a supervisor, I realize that can be a breaking point.
Right.
If their goal does not match my goal, recognizing again that they're going to come, with their primary goal is get my hours. And actually, truthfully, that's my primary goal too, that I want them to get their hours.
Right.
But if our goals don't match reasonably well, that might be a good reason to say,
let me tell you, I know this other supervisor that might be
we're not a good fit.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So you said it starts in the very beginning. What does it look like as you're working with a client over the next 3,000
and I think
hours?
it can shift and change. Sometimes after a year or so, maybe the goals shift. Maybe the plan needs to change because now they want to pursue a specialty. Now they need more supervision in a different area we haven't explored before. So you have to be willing to flex that map and say, we're going to get there a different way. I think they've experienced more and they change their mind.
Oh, sure.
Never mind. I don't want to do this. I actually don't want to be in private practice. I only want to work in a hospital setting. And if that's the case, then I'm not the supervisor for them. They might need a different type of supervisor.
I think I sometimes have supervisees that maybe start wanting to use their supervision time to do some of their own counseling.
That can happen.
Or they shift and they want to ask a lot of business-related questions. I'm okay with some of that, but if it becomes the main focus every time.
Every week you're talking about those things, right?
Have to get them back on track and say, next time, come ready to talk about these specific clients. I want to come back to these.
Right.
I've been thinking about them. You mentioned them, and now I'd like to address that again. So I sometimes, for clarity and focus, we'll sometimes do that.
Rein it back in for them.
Well, it's been a while now. I had a supervisee. They were busy with lots of things, life, counseling. They weren't getting that many hours. And one way that we sat down and had some clarity with each other and refocused was we talked about how many hours they had, how many hours they needed, how many hours they were getting each week, and got the calculator out, said, okay, we need to refocus in order to reach our goal, because the ultimate goal is to get 3,000 hours and finish those internship or associate hours now. Heather, the next point in the article was that a supervisor or manager's role is to provide fuel for the people they're managing or supervising. How do you do that?
I think so much of it's about motivation. I love what you just talked about. You got out the calculator and said, okay, so it'll take you 7 years to get your hours at this rate. Well, I mean, that is a motivating tool, but also, pursuing with that individual, because so much motivation is based on who you're motivating. What were their goals 3 years after licensure? And are they still on track for that? Those type of motivations can be important. I had the experience with a supervisee where the last people in the world he wanted to work with were teenagers. But he ended up at an internship where he did a lot of work with families and blended families. Well, a lot of blended families have teenagers.
Right.
And he realized that he was avoiding teenagers because he never thought he knew what to do with them. But he was really good at it.
Right.
And we kind of shifted a little bit, and his motivation then was to learn more and to become comfortable and confident. He was good at it and he didn't even know it, just the way he interacted. So it was finding that motivation for him to say, you actually are great at this work.
The way that I do this, and I'd be worried for myself, I think, and I'd have to question myself being a supervisor if I lost this. I get so excited about being a counselor.
Yes.
Learning something new, counseling related. I get so excited when a client has positive change, or you see something new happen and it feels like, yes, we're doing
Right,
this.
momentum.
We're right. Counseling works.
Right.
I think that's something that I bring to supervision, management when I'm managing people. And I don't think I'd want to be a supervisor anymore if I lost that.
No, I think that would be very difficult.
And I don't think I would bring that fuel
Right.
to those situations. I know I've talked about it. That's one of the reasons I like to do rounding or staffing with a multidisciplinary team so that we do get to, as a group, almost like witness each other's successes.
Right.
I do get totally excited when somebody says, and they're doing great, or they confronted their mom with this thing that they've been wanting to say, or they reached out for help when they needed it. I'm like, yes.
Right. We're doing good work. And
that's what we were going for. Yeah.
Right.
I just don't think I'd be at all interested in managing or supervising if I didn't feel that energy or excitement. And it would totally reflect in the quality of supervision that I was providing.
Absolutely. I think it would shift everything. I think there are people that are cut out for supervision and being supervisors, and those that aren't and just have no interest whatsoever. No matter if they've been in the field 10, 20 years, they don't have that passion for supervising. They may have it for other things.
You know, that makes me think back on some supervisors I had in the very beginning. My first couple of settings were tough settings, and one of my supervisors that was provided through school said to me something to the effect of, I don't know what I would do. That's why I'm in private practice.
Oh, okay.
And he just had no energy or excitement for what I was doing.
Right.
He wasn't interested, and I felt so defeated. Well, that's what I was excited for.
Right.
So you're not excited about it.
Right.
How do I get excited about it? He probably wasn't the right supervisor. If I had been able to choose, I would not have chosen him.
Right.
And maybe someone who was in private practice, he would have been the perfect supervisor for them. Heather, the last point in our article this week, get involved. What does that mean as a supervisor, as a manager? If you're not just managing and supervising for the weekend, just to get it done and
be gone,
check the box and say you've done supervision for the week. What does getting involved look like?
So I read that as know your supervisee and know their why. Sometimes they're going to be in a position where they really are getting the hours, but they're not really pursuing their passion. And so it's like, know your people you're working with and do the work with them. You cannot supervise effectively if you've not related to what they're doing. That's why if someone comes to me and they're like, I only want to be a cognitive behavioral therapist, I'm like, nice to meet you. Let me give you some other people's names because that's not what I do.
So do you mean connected to your supervisees as counselors, but also as human beings?
Right.
So I know you have a supervisee right now with younger kids. You ask about the kids.
Connect to how their week was. What are they doing?
Helping to know what's going on for your supervisee in overall as a counselor, as a parent. And then you're saying the same is true of their counseling setting, that you wanted to be involved. You know the culture of their counseling setting, what their counseling activities are there.
Right. Why they're there. Because sometimes you have people that are there because it just was a good fit.
They just took a job because they needed a job.
Right. I need a job and they're giving me my 40 hours a week, so I'm done. Which can be okay in the short run sometimes. But if you want to see that rocket fuel created, then you're going to need to see the connection between their passion and their work. Like, what are they working with a client base they want to? Are they finding their work interesting? Are they learning something new? For me, learning is always a big thing. Those are the things that I think spark me being involved in their lives to then support them in the ways they might need to be supported.
I think about getting involved also. I think it helps them to create their energy and be excited, but it helps me too.
Yes.
I think a big value add that I bring to supervision or managing counselors or clinicians, I know what's going on in the community around me. And I have a feel for new books that are coming out, new trainings that are available. So if someone says, I feel like I'd like to know a little more about addressing body image, I would go, oh, well, did you know there's this online training, or did you know this organization's got this webinar that's coming up that I would be able to do that.
So important. It's a valuable resource.
I can do that within the community too. I would say, I think recently I was talking to a supervisee whose client was minimizing her need for counseling to prioritize her child's need in counseling. And I said, oh, there are resources out there for kids to get counseling for very inexpensively. Here are 3 names of agencies where this kid could go and get counseling and still allow mom to prioritize her own counseling if finances is the issue.
Right. And it shifts the whole dynamic because you've just added a layer of support they didn't even know existed.
To me, that's part of what I think about when I think of get involved, is that I continually grow and learn and am involved involved and engaged in the community so that I'm bringing that to my supervisees. I do it because, and make sure that they know that I'm doing it, because it also teaches them the value of doing that themselves.
Right.
Being involved, being aware, continually learning. Heather, today we talked about not managing or supervising for the weekend, but making managing and supervising a part of your everyday that you enjoy. Thanks today for listening to Supervision with a Vision. You've been listening to Supervision with a Vision. Head on over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Therapy Academy to join the conversation and get show notes. We'll be back next week with more Supervision with a Vision.